Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be using the ChatGPT integration to have it build us a calculator that we could actually use in a production app. If you're excited about AI like I am and you're ready to see what it could do as far as building you an app, then stay tuned. Let's learn together. So here we are in our brand new Xcode project, and let's go ahead and let's start with a view. Now for a BMI calculator, obviously there's a couple things you'll need, and you can get a rough number with just a height and a weight. So let's go ahead and let's let the ChatGPT integration know what we're looking for to roughly lay out our view. So let's say I want a form and I want two text fields, one for a user to enter their height, and another for entering their weight. And let's just go ahead and for right now, and we'll say that this is height in inches and weight in pounds. There we go. I also want a button that says calculate, and I want that button to use the data that the user entered into the text fields to calculate the BMI, body mass index, of the person. And let's see what we get. Nice. Okay, so let's look over our code. So we've got height in inches and weight in pounds, and those are both strings. And then the BMI is a double. So let's go ahead and let's let this, so it's using the text and the binding to the string. So let's go ahead and let's update this so that it uses a double for these values, and we'll see if we can get it to use the value for this text field here too. Instead of using a string for the height and weight, use a double and use the text field with a value for the height and weight. There we go. Nice. Okay, good. So that cleans up our code a little bit more. Very cool. So as we can see, it went ahead and it changed the height and weight into doubles, and it looks like our BMI calculation also got cleaned up a little bit, which is very nice. All right, now that's a pretty decent start. Let's go ahead. So we've got if we have a BMI value, so in other words, this is set to nil by default. And so if we have set this value, then one thing that we want to do is we want to create a new section with a header of result. And then it looks like we're doing a floating point format along with giving it 2 decimal points. So let's see if we can clean that up as well. So instead of using the older formatter with a % in the result, use the text formatter that is built into Swift UI. Let's see if it knows what that one is. Nice. Yeah, that's actually not too bad at all. And this is also using the new number formatter for Swift UI, which is really cool. Now, it's not best practice in a production app to have logic inside of your view. Generally, you want to try to keep that kind of stuff out, especially if it's business logic like it is here for calculating our BMI value. So let's go ahead and see if we can move this logic out into a view model. And also the text of enter your details here with just 2 zeros, that's not super helpful for a user to understand what's going on with this. So let's see if we can ask GPT to help work on that. So let's say that we want to move the state variables out into a view model, and also move the calculate method into the view model as well, and place a text label above the text fields so the user knows what kind of data to enter into those fields. Okay, nice. As we can see, it looks like it's moved all that code out into the view model, which is good. It's a good start. But if we come up here and actually look at our view model, that didn't actually work very well. It looks like it's got several issues with it. So let's, first things first, observable object is actually an older way of doing things. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. And we will import observable, since that's what we actually want to use here. And with observable, we don't need any of the published keywords here. And now there's one thing that you can do to get rid of all these published keywords at once. If you highlight what you're looking for, you can press Command Option E, and that will go through and select the next iteration of what you've already got highlighted. So now we can just hit backspace and get rid of all those published variables all at once. Nice. And we were able to get rid of some of those errors over there. Now, with the observable keyword here, we also don't use a state object. We instead just use @state, because our view model is now part of state, thanks to the observable macro. Very cool. Now, this is the kind of stuff where it's actually really useful to understand what's going on with the code and how to write it, and not just solely rely on AI. There's a lot of those little things like that where, yes, the app probably could work, but it could work so much better if we understood what's going on. So now let's come down here, and we also asked it for a label. So let's look and see what we got for our label. Okay, so it gave us a section with a header of enter your details, which is what we had before, but it's also adding a text here, so that's interesting. We could also probably say that we just want a text here, and we want our text to say height in inches. And let's put this in a VStack so that it groups these together. There we are. And then we'll do the same thing down here. We'll put this view in a VStack, and then we will say that this is a text, and our text will be our weight in pounds. There we go. And it looks like I accidentally copied over the quotes up top, so that should fix it. Nice. And let's set the alignment on these VStacks here to .leading. There we go. And we'll do the same thing for this one with an alignment of .leading. Nice. So now it's a little easier for the user to actually understand what value goes here. Cool. So now let's actually try it out. Let's say that we have a height of, well, it looks like that height is actually not responding to any of the keyboard presses that I'm doing here. Let's try running it in the simulator and see what we get. Okay, and there we go. So now let's click here, and can we enter any numbers? Yes, we can enter numbers here. Okay, cool. So if our height, let's just say, is 100 for easy numbers, and our weight is 100 for easy numbers, then we will calculate, and our VMI would be 7. Okay, cool. Nice. So that actually doesn't look too bad at all, and it's not a half bad calculator. Now, as we can see, we've got this extra random detail here, so let's go ahead and let's remove that from our code, since we don't need that anymore. There we are, and we'll go ahead and resume our canvas now that we know that that's working. Nice. Okay, and so that's a little bit easier for us to read. So we'll try to calculate one more time. And it looks like that calculate button is broken there. So let's try it again in the simulator. And if we hit calculate with 0, it won't calculate. And that's because we are checking to make sure our height is greater than 0, because if we were to divide by 0, that would give us an error. Very cool. So ChatGPT did do something useful for us. It actually threw in a small amount of validation, which is nice. So to summarize what we did, we used our ChatGPT integration, our AI code assistant, to have it build us a BMI calculator. It did a pretty good job with getting some basic UI going, even though this is really simple and not complex or complicated. There were still some things that it missed, and that's okay because we are developers and we should know how our code works and what our code is doing. And we want to use that tool to help speed us up in our process, and we want to work with that tool to make sure that the product that comes out is as smooth and sharp and well working as could possibly be. And with that, make sure you're subscribed, because in the next video we will also keep working on this project and see if we can make it a little more, even more production ready than what we have here. And if you do decide to leave a comment, just be nice about it. That's all I ask. Thanks. Have a great day.